We've talked about breaking out of a while loop. Let's now talk about skipping any remaining code in the while loop and going back up to the top. So, in other words, we've got a while loop here, an example, and we're iterating through, repeating this loop while the count is less than 5. And we want to print the count. We see all this is indented in our while loop. It's all part of the while loop. Python sees that. We want to print the count, but with one exception. If the count is equal to 3, we don't want to print the count. We want to continue to the next iteration of the loop back at the top here. So what we can use is a keyword called continue, and that continues with the next iteration, skipping everything within the while loop that is below our continue statement. So the continue statement proceeds to the next iteration. So let's take a look at that. So let's create a while loop as we've demonstrated. Set the count variable to 0 while the count is less than 5, indent. Count is assigned count plus 1. If, however, count equals 3, continue. So skip everything down here. Print count. So this print is always going to occur except when this continue happens within our while loop. So let's try this out. What do we see? We see we've printed out 1, 2, 4, and 5 because we've skipped. So let's debug this to show more in depth. Whoops, I need to set a breakpoint, otherwise we're not debugging anything. Let's set our breakpoint at the beginning of our while loop. Debug. And let's just step over a few times because we know count is not equal to 3. Look here how in PyCharm it shows the value of our variable to the right. That's also very handy. We can see how IDEs just help make our programming journey and programming life a little bit easier. So now here we are. If count equals 3, well, count is 2. So we're not going to enter our if conditional. We're going to skip it. So hit next, step over. You see we skipped it. We just went to print. So we're going to print count again. Back up to the top of our loop. And count is still less than 5. We're incrementing. And you see here it's just a little formatted a little bit differently. We're having our count variable at the top. So just a little bit different approach. We could have also just started with count 1 if we wanted to and put count down at the bottom. Just a different way of doing it. So let's, if count is equal to 3, count is equal to 3. Count is equal to 3. So what do? We're entering our if statement. We see this blue line. We are now on this continue statement. So what's going to happen? Are we going to print count? We are not. We're going to hit this continue. We're going to go right back up to the top of the while loop, as we just did. So that's a demonstration of what the continue statement does. Sometimes we need to do that where we don't want to execute some of the code. We want to just move on to the next iteration. And that's the continue in our while loops.